I had just set the last casserole dish on the counter when my mother-in-law walked into the kitchen, looked at everything I'd spent 11 hours making and said, "This is it?" Not hello. Not thank you driving 2 hours. Not even a basic acknowledgement that I'd been in her kitchen since before dawn. Just, "This is it?" I stood there with oven mitts still on my hands staring at her. "I thought you said you were making a full spread," she said. She lifted the corner of the foil on the sweet potato casserole, peeked underneath, and let it drop like she'd found a dead mouse. "There's no standing rib roast. I told you I was making turkey," I said. "We talked about this in October. I thought you meant in addition to the roast." My husband Theo, and I love him, I do, was standing in the doorway and said absolutely nothing. He just looked at the floor. That was the moment I should have seen it coming. But I was tired and hopeful in the way you get when you've been trying for 4 years to make someone love you, and you keep thinking this time will be different. Let me back up. Theo and I had been married for 3 years at this point. We'd been together for 6. His parents, his mother especially, had never been warm to me, but I'd spent the better part of those 6 years convincing myself I was imagining it, that her comments were just her way, that the eye rolls were tiredness, not contempt, that the silences when I walked into rooms were coincidences. His mother's name is Beverly. She's 63, retired from a job she references constantly as though it were a military campaign she single-handedly won. And she has the specific kind of confidence that comes not from being right, but from never having been told she's wrong. His father, Ron, is quiet in the way that lets Beverly be loud. He nods a lot, he disappears into the garage. He is not cruel, but he is also not an ally. Theo has one sister, Bridget. She is 31, lives 20 minutes from his parents, and has decided that the way to survive Beverly is to agree with everything she says. So Bridget is always agreeing with Beverly. This means Bridget is often wrong, but she's never uncomfortable, and I think she's made her peace with that trade. The Thanksgiving in question was the worst, but also, in a way, the most important thing that has ever happened to me. Because it was the moment I finally stopped trying. It started in August. Beverly called Theo to say that Thanksgiving that year would be special, because Ron's brother and his wife were flying in from Phoenix, and she wanted everything to be elevated. She used that word, elevated. She wanted a rib roast in addition to turkey. She wanted 3 kinds of pie. She wanted the good china out. She wanted things done properly. Theo relayed all of this to me and then, because he is eternally optimistic in situations that do not warrant it, said, "I told her you'd handle the cooking." I should have said no. I want to be honest about that. I had the option to say no, and I chose not to because I thought, and this is embarrassing now, I thought if I pulled off an incredible Thanksgiving, Beverly might finally look at me like I was worth something, like I belonged in her family. I had been chasing that look for 6 years and I was still chasing it, right up until the moment she lifted that foil and let it drop. I spent 3 weeks planning the menu. I asked Beverly multiple times what she wanted, and she kept saying, "You know what a proper Thanksgiving looks like," as though that were a specific instruction. I made a list. Turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, gravy, green bean casserole, sweet potato casserole, with the little marshmallows on top because Theo loves those, cranberry sauce from scratch, dinner rolls and 2 pies, pumpkin and apple. I texted Bridget the menu in early November, and she said it looked great. Beverly didn't respond to the text at all. I drove to Theo's parents' house the Tuesday before Thanksgiving to use their bigger oven and their second refrigerator. I woke up at 4 in the morning on Wednesday and started cooking. I brined the turkey overnight. I made the pie crusts from scratch. I made cranberry sauce with orange zest and a little cardamom because I'd seen a recipe that sounded good, and I'd tested it twice at home to make sure it was right. I made the dinner rolls and let them proof in Beverly's laundry room because it was the warmest spot in the house. By the time Thanksgiving morning arrived, I had been cooking for almost 30 hours with breaks only to sleep 4 hours on the couch in the guest room. Theo arrived Wednesday evening, kissed me hello, ate some of the cranberry sauce with a spoon straight from the pot, and said it was incredible. The guests were arriving at 2. By noon I had everything either done or in progress. The turkey was in the oven, the rolls were baked and covered in a clean dish towel. Both pies were cooling on the counter. The green bean casserole was ready to go in the oven for its last 20 minutes. I had timed everything. I had a written schedule on a notepad next to the stove. Beverly came into the kitchen at 12:15 and said, "This is it?" I took a breath. I explained again that this was what I'd told her I was making. I listed everything. I pointed at each dish, she said. I told Ron's brother there would be a standing rib roast. He specifically mentioned he loves prime rib. "Beverly," I said, as carefully as I could manage, "you never told me to make a rib roast. I asked you 3 times what you wanted, and you told me I knew what a proper Thanksgiving looked like." She looked at me the way she always looks at me when she's decided I'm being difficult. Well, I thought that was obvious. It wasn't obvious. You should have asked. Theo was still in the doorway, still looking at the floor. Beverly turned to him. Theo, did you explain what I wanted? And Theo said, I thought I did, Mom. I put the oven mitts down on the counter, quietly. I didn't slam them. I wasn't even angry yet, not really. I was something more like stunned. The way you feel when you've been hit by something slow enough that you saw it coming but still couldn't quite believe it would actually make contact. Okay, I said. Beverly started talking about whether there was time to drive to Whole Foods and get a rib roast before the guests arrived. She was doing math out loud. Theo was nodding along. Bridget had appeared from somewhere and was also nodding. You'd need to leave now, Beverly said to me. If you hurry, you might make it. She was asking me. The person who had been cooking for 30 hours, who had a turkey in the oven, who had a written schedule on a notepad, who had asked 3 separate times what she needed. I looked at Theo. He looked at the floor. I'm not going to Whole Foods, I said. Beverly blinked. Excuse me? I'm not going. I made what I said I was going to make. There's a full Thanksgiving meal here. If that's not enough, I'm sorry. But I'm not leaving in the middle of cooking to go buy a cut of meat that wasn't on the menu. The kitchen went very quiet. Beverly said, well, I think that's a little selfish. And that was the word that did it. Selfish. After 30 hours of cooking in someone else's kitchen. After 6 years of trying. After 3 weeks of planning and 2 test batches of cranberry sauce and dinner, rolls proofing in the laundry room. Selfish. I untied my apron. I hung it on the hook by the back door, which is where Beverly keeps her own aprons. I did it very slowly because my hands had started shaking and I didn't want anyone to see. Then I started wrapping things. I didn't say anything. That's the part that surprises me when I look back on it. I didn't make a speech. I didn't cry. I just started moving. I wrapped the pies in plastic wrap. I put lids on the casseroles. The dinner rolls went back into the bag I'd brought them over in. The cranberry sauce went into the container I'd transported it in from home. The green bean casserole, the sweet potato casserole, the stuffing. All of it went into my bags and my cooler that I'd brought with me on Tuesday. Beverly said, what are you doing? I'm taking my food home. You can't do that. We have guests coming. Then I'd suggest you go to Whole Foods, I said. You have about an hour and a half. Theo finally spoke. He said, Laurel. Just my name. The way he said it had that particular tone people use when they want you to be reasonable in a situation where reasonable is the thing they've been failing to be themselves for the past 20 minutes. Don't, I said. I kept wrapping. The turkey was the last thing. I turned off the oven, let it cool for a few minutes, and then I wrapped it as best I could and put it in the largest bag I had. It was unwieldy. I had to make 3 trips to my car. Nobody helped me carry anything. Bridget stood in the hallway and watched me make the first 2 trips without saying a word. On the 3rd trip, she said, You're really doing this? Like it was something theatrical I was pulling off for attention. Yep, I said. I drove to my sister Josiane's house. She lives 40 minutes away, and she was spending Thanksgiving with her husband's family. But she'd already told me weeks ago to use her place if I ever needed a quiet spot. I called her on the way, and she said her kitchen was mine. Come anytime. I set everything out on Joanna's kitchen counter. I reheated what needed reheating. I made a plate for myself and sat at her kitchen table, alone, and ate Thanksgiving dinner in complete silence. I want to tell you it felt triumphant. It didn't, not right away. Mostly it felt sad and exhausting, and like something had finally broken that I'd been trying to hold together with both hands for a very long time. I sat there with the best cranberry sauce I've ever made, and the softest dinner rolls and a turkey that had come out genuinely well. And I cried a little, not dramatically, just quietly, the way you cry when you're not even sure what exactly you're grieving. My phone started going off at around 4 o'clock. The first call was Theo. I let it go to voicemail. Then Bridget called. Then Theo again. Then a number I didn't recognize that turned out to be Ron's brother's wife, who had apparently gotten my number from Theo and wanted to know where the food was and whether there had been some kind of miscommunication. I turned my phone over and finished my pie. Theo's voicemail said, The guests are here and there's nothing to eat. Mom is really upset. Can you please call me back? This is Laurel. This is not okay. We need to talk about this. The second voicemail said, Mom ordered pizza. Everyone is really uncomfortable. She told Ron's brother there was a family emergency. Laurel, I need you to call me. The third voicemail said, Are you okay? I'm coming to get you. Tell me where you are. I texted him Joanna's address and said I was fine but I wasn't ready to talk. He arrived at Joanna's house at 6:30. He knocked on the door like he wasn't sure I'd open it, and when I did, he looked at the spread still on Joanna's counter. The leftover turkey, the cranberry sauce, both pies, the rolls, and he got this look on his face that I don't have a precise word for. something between grief and realization. He sat down at the table and said, "I handled this wrong." "You did," I said. "I should have backed you up." "You should have." "She's not going to apologize," he said. "I know, but I am," he said. "I'm apologizing. What she said to you was wrong. What I did, or didn't do, was wrong. You spent 3 weeks planning this, and you were right. You told her what you were making, and I just stood there." I made him a plate. It felt like a reasonable response. He ate in silence for a while, and then said the cranberry sauce was the best thing he'd ever had, and that his mom had served everyone pizza on Thanksgiving, which would have been funny if it weren't also somehow exactly right. We didn't fix everything that night. I want to be honest about that too. Theo and I had a long conversation over the next couple of weeks about what I needed from him and what he was willing to give, and what it meant that he had watched his mother dismiss me for 6 years, and mostly let it happen. It was not an easy conversation. It happened more than once. Beverly never apologized. She sent me a Christmas card in December with a gift card to a kitchen store, which I think was her version of one. Theo told her clearly, for the first time in our entire relationship, that the way she had spoken to me was not acceptable, and that if she wanted us at her table for any future holiday, she would need to treat me with basic respect. Beverly cried. Ron nodded. Bridget said she thought everyone was overreacting. Theo held the line. That was new. It didn't transform everything overnight. Beverly is still Beverly. She still looks at me the way she looks at things she hasn't decided whether to return. But Theo is different now, in small ways that matter. He backs me up. He doesn't look at the floor anymore. When his mother says something pointed, he doesn't let it just hang in the air. He responds to it, quietly and directly, in a way that makes clear he heard it and he's choosing me. Last Thanksgiving we went to Joanna's. Theo helped me make the rolls. He is genuinely bad at rolling dough, but he tried and the rolls came out slightly lopsided and we ate every single one of them. Beverly spent Thanksgiving with Ron and Bridget. She sent us a text that said, "Hope you enjoy your holiday," with no punctuation, which from Beverly is practically a peace treaty. I made the cranberry sauce again, the orange zest and cardamom. Theo ate it with a spoon straight from the pot, same as the first time, and said it was still the best thing he'd ever had. I believed him.